Hello, I'm Richard Fletcher. I'm here with Shrewsbury reporter Lewis Cox. Lewis, 0-0 on Saturday against bottom of the table. You've had a few days to reflect on it. How do you feel?
It wasn't a thriller, Rich, by any means. Town set some recent high standards in very good wins, in their sort of mini revival, really, under Sam Ricketts. And, it didn't quite live up to the billing. It's been sort of billed for a while as, struggling Shrewsbury faced the bottom club at home at a massive game. And it still was. 1 goal and 3 points could have took them to 13th, and you're thinking, wow.
So close, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous at the bottom of League One. But it wasn't, the highlights package wasn't particularly big, really. It wasn't great. I think, I'm trying to think of best chances, really. I'm thinking of a Josh Loren header first half, just before the break. But second period, they can, listen, they're a better team. Wimbledon are poor. I personally felt Wimbledon strangely came and were happy to defend for a point when they could have drifted at the bottom. I couldn't really understand that. They might have had a little bit more of a go late on, but Town controlled the ball. They showed elements of what Sam Ricketts has drilled into him, what he wants to see. Control, that's his buzzword. He loves control. He wants to see them dominate the ball, stretch teams from side to side and make openings. They did that, but the final moment, cross or shot or whatever was against them, and they've had that recently. So you can't. It's 7 points from 9 in 3 games, but not the order you'd have thought that have come. But you can't have a go, or no Town fans can really bash that record, because it's more than fans would have hoped for, and they're in a stronger position, a much stronger position than they were, a fortnight or so ago. So not a thriller, not what they wanted against the bottom side at home, but take it and move on to 2 games coming up. Rochdale, Plymouth, both away, who are also down there scrapping right around town.
And there was that big second half decision.
Well, yeah.
On another day, that could have obviously gone for them, and it would have been another 3 points. Yeah,
not for the first time. Ricketts post game was not happy with officials. He's done it a few times now already, and this time, I mean, you can really see why. I haven't managed to watch it back yet, but the handball in the box from a Greg Doherty volley, I mean, the defender saved it, basically. You could see his arms were outstretched, and it's a stinging first time volley. It was goal bound. How the ref and then his line over that side haven't seen it is beyond me, really. And that was about 10-12 minutes from time, and then it's a different, we're talking about different things. We're talking about another 3 points and arguably on the way to safety. So it's frustrating, because he will feel, and he's right to an extent, that they've had rotten luck from officials so far in his tenure. Apparently the Wimbledon defender, I'm not sure which one it hit, who was basically saying to the Shrewsbury players, I saved it. It was a great save, which is frustrating to hear, to say the least. And of course then the ball in added time was in the net late on, and you're thinking, the crowd cheers and thinking, oh, what's happened here? They've scored. It was a really bizarre moment as the Wimbledon keeper, Aaron Ramsdale, kicked it out of his hands off Roshan Williams of Shrewsbury and into the net. And for a moment, the ref sort of pointing that way, and you're thinking, what is he signalling, a goal? Is he signalling a foul? And it was like sort of mayhem for a split second. And some Town fans thought they'd got a winner, but weren't meant to be. Berating the officials again, I think deservedly so this time.
Yeah. And lots of changes to the Shrewsbury team on Saturday. Sam Ricketts is starting to build a little bit of a reputation as a tinkerman.
Well, that's certainly, fans have said that. Richard, you're right in saying that fans have said that. A big point from this weekend, and what I've wrote about in my analysis and the reaction stuff from the manager, is on rotation. Maybe in recent times for Shrewsbury, something that they're not too used to under recent managers, possibly going back to Mickey Mellon, but he clearly thinks, Sam Ricketts, that he's got after January, a big squad with options, 2 players in each position he can use, and he's ready to swap them in and out. Regardless of form. A great win last Tuesday against Doncaster, but that's not enough to keep your place in the 11. Fans and maybe neutrals might think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or don't change a winning team. He doesn't see that. He says those days are gone in football, and that players need to be sort of fresh for what he demands when he comes in to play intense football. And no sort of comfortable players that they know they've got their place in the 11. A couple of players that came out that could argue they played really well in the last game. Big calls to leave influential players. Greg Doherty, top scorer, Fajiri Okunabiri out, but he's not afraid of doing that.
Yeah.
And you could argue that fair play. He's built a squad he wants of talented players in January, and he's happy to take these good players out. And it's something that fans are going to get used to. They can't. Certainly, a section of them can't understand why the top scorer is on the bench, or why a talented lad like Doherty from Rangers on loan is on the bench, who's had such a good season. But it's Ricketts' way. Clearly it's something we've got to get used to. It will have an impact and work in that they'll have fresh legs, whereas other sides won't, because they don't have those options. But that's why you wanted to build a squad. It is, it's a controversial point with fans, because if you win a game on a Tuesday night, and you probably think the 11 could go again on the Saturday, but not how the manager sees it, and we're going to see plenty more of it with the Saturday, Tuesday away games coming next weekend, as we've said. Rotation will be here to stay. Hopefully it will benefit Town. Otherwise, of course, from fans, Ricketts will have to answer the questions about it and why he sees it. But he's given his reasons, and you can't say fairer than that, I suppose, because of his recent 5 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
Those 2 fine wins. So certainly since the window shut end of January, start of February, it's working for him, and fingers crossed, long may it continue.
Dave Edwards' first start on Saturday, ex-Wolves man. How did he do?
First start for Shrewsbury Town in something like 12 years.
Yes.
His first start in a football match since last May. So what's that? 8, 9, 10 months, if my maths is right, which I don't think it is. But a long period of time without starting a game, and it was never going to be easy. For me, I think he had a decent afternoon. He showed his energy. He got up and down the pitch, which is really impressive to see, given that he hasn't played and fitness might not be the best. He put in a lovely couple of crosses, couple of passes, and he sort of stamped his authority on it when he, with and without the ball, he gave a couple away, probably rusty, I would say. Had a shank on the stroke of half time, which was sort of closer to the halfway line than the goal, but it was a difficult shot with a bobble, which he laughed about on Twitter after the game. But yeah, he's engine. I mean, in the early moments, he was bombing on to the 6-yard box, in that box-to-box fashion you'd imagine him to get on the end of a cross that didn't quite fall his way. He'll play a massive impact, in terms of arriving late and scoring goals for Town before the end of the season. I must confess, as I wrote a piece on the Saturday before the game, I was a little surprised he came back in the 11. I've got to admit, I thought it would be, your Ollie Norburn back from suspension for Grant, and then we've talked about Doherty being dropped in this rotation. Doherty was the man to come out for Dave Edwards, and you've got depth and that sort of depth and quality to come in, then you can't argue with it too much. But Dave Edwards, I think the manager said he impressed so much in training and worked so hard in training that he's got he's earned his spot behind the scenes, and he deserves to come back in. And I think with a player of his calibre that they've got, the team to an extent is going to be built around him, certainly long term from the summer beyond. So it was good to see him look so fit. He came off after about 67 minutes and looks a little tired, but he certainly gave a lot in terms of running, and I think he's going to be one of the fittest in the group anyway. He builds up that fitness more and more. I think we'll start to see more exciting things from him.
Okay. And not a comical injury, but an ex-Shrewsbury man joined Portsmouth, ruled out of their game on Saturday for quite an unusual reason. Explain.
Bryn Morris, controversial subject from January, I suppose. He was let go by Sam Ricketts and Shrewsbury to high-flying Pompey. They were certainly high-flying at the time. They were second, if I remember rightly, just behind Luton, who also wanted to sign him, the leaders. Bryn Morris has had a decent start to his Pompey career. Kenny Jackett's side have sort of stuttered a little bit lately, a lot of draws. But poor Bryn Morris had to miss out at the 5-1 rout at the weekend over Bradford because of a little groin injury from moving house. All those sort of miles on the motorway and
carrying boxes,
lifting we've all been there. We've all been there picking up those heavy boxes and stuff. I'm sure he was doing the manual labour, rather than his better half. And there's a lot, he's driving up from Portsmouth, his new home.
Long drive.
Well, he's been in a hotel and he, driving up to Shrewsbury where he was living, and then he's got family in Hartlepool and Middlesbrough. On the mileage on the road, and it can just obviously impact your muscles and that, and it's a comical one. There's so many, aren't there, like your Rio Ferdinands, Dave Bessants. Actually, some Town fans have shouted me out on Twitter going right back to late 1980s, I think. Old Town legend called Vic Casul, Vodka Vic, as he was known then for certain reasons. Broke his toe doing a backflip celebrating a goal, which was a great sort of little archive story.
It was a good celebration.
Yeah, he was a character by all accounts. Obviously, I can't remember him. And yeah, there's Liam Lawrence as well.
Yeah,
more recent. More recent history was at Town. I'm not too sure if he was at the time of this injury, but apparently tripped over his dog and was out for a period. So it's not uncommon, but it's certainly funny. It's funny to hear, isn't it? You think the professional footballer has to sit out because he's lifting a few boxes and driving a few miles. Yeah. But yeah, I got a lot of time for Brynny. He's a good player at Shrewsbury, and I hope he continues to do well at Portsmouth, who play at the Meadow soon. So he'll be making a return.
That'll be an interesting one, yeah.
He'll be making a return, as well as Portsmouth's number one, Craig McGillivray, who was Town's backup keeper last season. So a couple of renewed acquaintances to make in the coming weeks, and we'll see how that goes.
Fantastic, Lewis. For all the Shrewsbury news, please log on to shropshirесtar.com.